Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another bike parts video. In today's video, we're going to do some serious science. We're going to talk about who makes the best helmet. So stay tuned. So let's say you're in your local bike shop looking for helmets. You're shopping, you're considering, you're trying them on, and you pick one up that you like. You like the color, you like the feel, seems like it's got plenty of vents, but how safe is it really? How do we know? I got an idea. Let's find out right on the showroom. That's safe. So who actually makes the best helmet? That's what we're going to try to talk about today. So whenever you go shopping for a helmet, a lot of times you're considering, hey, what's available at my local shop? What was my last helmet? What did I like or not like? We get online, we do research. But when it comes to helmet safety, we are a little bit disadvantaged because, you spin the helmet around and you see the DOT sticker, and that's really all that we know. Hey, it's either DOT compliant or it's not. And a little interesting fact is that in the US, to make a helmet DOT approved, the manufacturer has the impetus to do all of their own testing. The state doesn't actually test a helmet before it's brought to market. Therefore, some of those novelty helmets that you think, how is that DOT legal? The manufacturer can actually slap a DOT legal sticker on it, bring it to market, and then if DOT randomly picks that helmet to test it and it fails, then they are eligible to be fined for it. But the manufacturer doesn't have to get it approved like they do with the ECE before they bring a helmet to market. So when we're shopping for helmets, a lot of times we're shopping based on name brand or marketing campaigns. Kind of like buying a car, right? Unless you do like a consumer report or unless you use some tool like that, your buying is somewhat limited based on the advertising that you see. So what I wanted to sort out today was, trying to use some science and figure out what brand actually brings the best product to market. Fortunately, over in the UK, they decided, hey, just saying something's compliant or not is not enough information. So what they've done with the website, if you just Google Shark UK helmet, it'll bring it up. And what it is it's a federally regulated site that goes through, they do all their own independent testing, research, safety measures, dropping helmets, hitting it against stuff, different speeds, different weights, to try to figure out which one is going to be the safest helmet. And so what I've done is I've gone through the website, I've pulled some of the top most recognizable brands, I've looked at the batch size and the rating that each helmet gets, and I've come up with a list. And so today I wanted to talk through that list. So some of these brands, they should all be recognizable. The top brand that I want to talk about we'll get to last. So we're going to kind of do a worst to best list. So let's start with the lowest average score. So the brand SCHUBERTH, they had 11 models tested. So the test batch wasn't giant, but I only pulled brands that had a test batch larger than 10 because I felt like you couldn't really give a brand a score if you're only testing 1, 2, 4, 5 helmets. So some notable brands that didn't make the cut were Icon, for example, simply because they didn't have enough that were tested for me to feel like it was a fair representation of that brand. So on the bottom of the list is SCHUBERTH. There was 11 models tested. Out of those 11 models, they had a combined star award of 33. So all 11 models, if you added up all the stars all those models got, you'd get 33. That gives that brand an average score of 3. That is the lowest. It's 3 out of 5. So to get a 3 is just above average, and it is the lowest score. When you're buying a helmet, you don't want to buy a just average helmet. The next brand up was the Scorpion brand. The Scorpion brand had 17 models tested. They were awarded 56 stars, which gave them an average star score of 3.3. That puts it definitely towards the bottom. Next was LS2, 23 models tested with an average score of 3.3, the same as Scorpion, still towards the bottom end of the pack. The next brand was HJC. Now HJC is a giant brand. They do private label. They are a very large company. They had 30 models tested with an average score of 3.3. But what stood out to me the most was that on the HJC modulars, they had a 32% fill rate. So what that means is that if a helmet is modular, where the chin bar rotates up and a full face converts into a 3/4, that means 32% of the time, on average, if they did a certain test where they would pull up on that chin bar, 32% of the time, they failed. That's terrible. So yeah, pretty much towards the bottom of the list. The next brand, and this was a big surprise to me because this brand has always marketed really well, ARAI. ARAI had 16 models tested with an average score of 3.5. So really just right above average. I was expecting a little bit more from ARAI. The next brand on the list was NOLAN. And this surprised me. There were 14 models tested with an average score of 4, which is a pretty solid score. But what I really liked is that the modulars had a 0% fail rate. So if you are in the market for a modular helmet, you want that convertible convenience to where you can get a lot of wind in the face, consider NOLAN. They were the only brand to have a 0% fail rate on every one of their modulars. So across the board, NOLAN is doing that the best. The next brand was maybe one of the biggest surprises to me. The next brand was Shark. So there were 30 Shark models tested, which is a massive batch test. And they got an average score of 4.2. What I also liked was that Shark helmets typically carry a really aggressive retail price point. So dollar for dollar, you're getting a pretty safe helmet for a really good value. But their modulars did have a 15% fail rate, so be aware. The next brand was Showy. Now we're getting into the top 3. So Showy shouldn't be a huge surprise that it's this high up on the list. What I didn't like though about this was that the test batch was small. There were only 13 Showy helmets tested. But out of those 13, they were awarded 54 stars for an average score of 4.2. So now we're starting to get up to that higher, creeping up towards 5. But again, like I said, it was a small test batch. I would have liked to have seen maybe another 10 or 15 Shoeis so I could get a better overall picture. All right, now we're at the top 2. Now, the reason I did this way was simply because of the number of models tested. So technically, Bell had 14 models tested with a 4.4 average score. So that 4.4 is actually the highest score. However, because there was only 14 models tested, I chose to put it second because the number 1 brand was AGV. AGV had 30 models tested, so more than twice the amount of models tested than Bell, and it averaged a 4.3. So I put AGV as number 1 simply because the test batch was twice the size of Bell and still almost the exact same score. One negative to the AGVs was that they did have an 8% fail rate on average for their modulars. So if you're looking at modulars, AGV should be high on the list, but like I said, NOLAN was the only one that had a 0% fail rate. But as a brand across the board, using science, using test data, AGV had the largest test batch with the highest average score if you weighed it because of the test batch size. But in my honest opinion, AGV, Bell, or Showy, they're all going to be incredible helmets. So anyways, I hope you find this video helpful. I hope that this data helps inform you on your next buying decision. Give me a comment down below, click subscribe, give me a thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Catch you next time.